Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing good. We're going to be talking about Baroque art today. So let me share my screen. Can everybody see it? Well, okay. So before we get started, I wanted to take a quick look back at what we have done so far and talk about what we're going to be doing next. So, leading up to the midterm, we explored Western art up to the Renaissance, and you had the opportunity to visit a local art museum, right? You all turned in your museum reports. After the midterm, we had our one-on-one conversations. We discussed your academic performance, your thoughts on the class, your museum visit, and your research project. I truly enjoy these meetings. I hope you do too. It actually gives us a chance to connect individually, and it allows me to tweak the class based on your feedback. So thank you for that. Um, just to make sure we're all on the same page, when are you submitting the first draft of your research paper again? Yes, in 2 weeks. And you get to do a final draft. You can rewrite your paper based on feedback. And when is that final draft due? In 4 weeks. Perfect. Additionally, each of you will have the opportunity to share your findings with the whole class in a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation at the end of the quarter. And all of this is posted on Canvas, all of the deadlines, all of the formats. Just go to modules and everything is there. Does anybody have any questions? Did I miss anything before we get started? Do you want to bring up anything? Well, if you ever do have any questions or if you need assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to support you on your art history journey. Okay, so are you ready? All right. This is actually a still from the short video that we're going to be watching in a few minutes. And I like that it does a good job of comparing and contrasting the Baroque to the Renaissance. The Baroque period is roughly from 1600 to 1750. And the term Baroque derived from the Portuguese Barroco, which means irregularly shaped pearl. You guys remember what the term Renaissance means? It's a French word. And what did it mean in French? Rebirth, right? So what kind of a name is irregular pearl to follow up on rebirth? Why would that be the name of this artistic period? Well, the term likely originated as a form of criticism during the 18th century to convey a sense of excess, extravagance, irregularity in the artistic styles that characterized the Baroque period. And you'll understand why the 18th century artists would be kind of looking down on the 17th century sensibilities as we study neoclassicism and modernism in the upcoming sections. Over time, however, this negative connotation associated with the term diminished. The Baroque is now widely recognized as a significant and rich artistic movement. So, in this new era, in the Baroque era, gone are the idealized figures of gods and goddesses, biblically religious heroes that had like a calm and noble demeanor. Instead, Baroque introduces us to down to earth individuals bursting with emotional intensity and dynamism, often encapsulated in fleeting moments in time. Now, let's delve into this world where emotions are high and stories unfold extravagantly. As always, my PowerPoint presentation is posted on Canvas, and my lecture notes are next to the images, so you have them. So let's get started. Introducing Baroque. I will be focusing on this one particular image for the first few minutes of our lecture, Caravaggio's Conversion of St. Paul. It's oil on wood, 93 inches by 74 inches, so it's quite a large painting. And it was done on the earlier part of the Baroque period at 1601. So the story goes, Saul of Tarsus was a Roman soldier on his way to Damascus to persecute the Christians there. You remember the persecution of the Christians, right? We talked about it at the tail end of discussing the Roman Empire. As we transitioned into discussing Christian art, we were talking about this one emperor, Roman Emperor Constantine, who accepted Christianity. If not, at least he stopped persecuting Christians, and he moved the capital from Rome to a city that he named after himself, Constantinople, and that later became Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, whatever. But that was the time, that was slightly before that time that the Romans were actively persecuting the early Christians during the time of Christ, actually for the first 300 years. And so this is basically referencing to that time. So Saul, the Roman soldier, is on his way, and he's blinded by a very bright light that knocks him off to the ground. Then he hears a heavenly voice as he's lying on the ground, completely disoriented. The voice says, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Blinded and confused, Paul asked the voice who he was. And the voice said, I'm Jesus, whom you're persecuting. But rise and enter the city, and you will be told what to do. Saul eventually regained his vision and eventually converted to Christianity, became someone that you're all familiar with, probably, most likely. He slightly changed his name, Paul. He became Paul, one of Christ's 12 apostles. So Caravaggio's Conversion of St. Paul epitomizes Baroque art with its intense emotional climax, the dynamic composition featuring diagonals and energy and dramatic play of light and shadow. The painting captures a very specific moment with a realistic portrayal avoiding idealization. Caravaggio's strategic perspective immerses the viewer into the scene, intensifying the feeling of presence in the transformative event, like we're there. The painting is located in the Basilica of San Maria del Popolo in Rome, in Italy, and I was fortunate enough to actually visit Rome and see this particular work. It is on the wall, and it seems like it's part of the wall, but there is quite ornate decorations around it, and it looks like a window that's like looking into this dark scene. And as you're standing in front of it, it does look like St. Paul is, his head is like pushed up against the window, like you're standing, depending on your proximity to the wall, you're standing right in front of the action. You do feel like you are there. You feel like this is like, this painting has the power to kind of suck you in, both physically and emotionally. It's a really interesting painting. If you ever get to Rome, I really think you should make the time to visit this painting. I loved the whole experience of standing in front of it, specifically because of the emotional intensity that the painting conveys. Caravaggio focuses on the dramatic climax of an extraordinary story with intense emotional depth, creating a painting that appeals to the heart and feelings, aiming for a visceral effect rather than the intellectual and logical appeal that's more characteristics of Renaissance works. He depicts a Roman soldier, like we've discussed, overwhelmed by a divine light, frozen in a moment of profound internal struggle and reflection. This is a moment of rebirth, where he's questioning everything he knows and everything he believes in or used to believe in, grappling with a sudden shift in his understanding of God and meaning of life. He's having this existential moment in this fleeting, specific moment in time. The painting freezes the split second of Saul's fall and the divine intervention of Jesus's voice. This is the very moment Saul hears the voice of Jesus ask him, "Why do you persecute me?" Caravaggio picks a precise moment that only lasted a few seconds. The technique enhances the immediacy of the scene, making the viewer feel like a witness to this pivotal moment. Dynamism. The composition comes alive with all the implied movement and diagonal lines. The angle of Saul's fallen body, the extreme foreshortening, the arching of the horse's neck, the flowing drapery, they all create a sense of motion and energy, despite the fact that Saul is lying still, immobile. An invisible storm rages inside of him. Plus, the horse could get spooked any minute by the light and all these voices, and he could start kicking around, adding a layer of tension and danger to the overall atmosphere. The entire scene feels charged with energy and potential for both physical and spiritual movement. Diagonals. Caravaggio employs strong diagonal lines in the composition as mentioned, which is very typical of a Baroque composition, introducing asymmetry, directional movement, and visual tension. These diagonals suggest dynamism in a composition. They enhance a sense of energy and potential for action, as if the scene is in flux or something is about to unfold. We talked about the use of geometry, especially the triangle in relation to Renaissance era compositions, right? Well, here is a reminder, a painting by Raphael, painted in 1506 from the Renaissance era that shows Madonna with Christ and San John. And the triangle in that composition is basically a very stable triangle with the broad end on the bottom and the tip on top. If there's a triangle in a Baroque composition, then it's usually upside down, standing on its pointed end, not the base, like the Renaissance. So what happens when it's standing on its tippy top? Well, it is not going to be a very stable, well, even though this is more of a diamond, this is not going to stand like this forever. It's probably going to tip in one way or the other, which is adding to the whole idea of implied motion and dynamism. If it's not an upside down triangle, the Baroque composition will often feature a diamond shape. You see it in Caravaggio's painting from 1601. You will also see it in other Baroque paintings, such as Rubens's painting from 1618, 2 decades down the line. Rubens is a painter from Flanders, which is contemporary Belgium in Northern Europe. The energy, the movement in Baroque compositions is unparalleled, very impressive. Even though the main figure is lying down motionless, the painting pulsates with palpable energy. The forces forward thrust, the intense gaze down, the flaring nostrils, the flowing robes, they all collectively impart a vivid sense of motion. The divine light on Saul further introduces a supernatural energy to the scene, embodying the essence of expect the unexpected in this setting. The composition is involving, close. Caravaggio crops the image so tight that there is no background. There's nothing to distract us from the main figures. They're so close to us, or we're so close to them, that we can almost touch them. We're almost on the stage with them. We're an intimate witness or even a participant to the events that are unfolding on the canvas or wherever the picture plane is. The people depicted in Baroque paintings usually look very real. They're not idealized at all. Caravaggio portrays these biblical figures as everyday people with varicose veins and all. The helper holding the horse has a wrinkly red face. He has this receding hairline and varicose legs. Saul's body lies down awkwardly with the physical strain and the disarray of his garments. This humility adds a human dimension to the divine event and makes the figures relatable. They're down to earth. They could be you and I. They're almost like the people next door. Dramatic lighting. Caravaggio's extreme use of lighting in the Conversion of St. Paul vividly symbolizes various dichotomies, intensifying the emotional impact. The interplay of extreme light and shadow represents contrasts, right and wrong, good and bad, enlightenment, heresy. Here, light signifies the discovery of faith, finding God, literally enlightenment. Saul's face, bathed in brilliance, emerges from the darkness as he is transitioning from persecutor to one of the 12 apostles, from Saul to, Paul. This deliberate omission of light source. I mean, there is that very bright light. We see it, but we don't know where it's coming from. It's mysterious. It adds to the overall mystique, enhancing the divine quality of the scene. Let's watch a 9-minute video on Baroque arts. Then we'll continue with a group discussion. After the group discussion, we're actually going to be talking about Baroque art some more. We're going to be comparing the northern and southern Europe, what artists have, what traditions these artists have developed, because northern and southern art looks quite different in the Baroque times as they did during the Renaissance times. And we'll also be talking about some artists that defy traditions, some of my favorite artists like Rembrandt. So let's watch the video. After the video, during the discussions, I'll be popping in and out of your discussion groups. I'm actually quite curious already to hear all of your insights. So I'll see you right after the video.